Good day, everybody. Well, good morning. It's, 1 minute to 10 o'clock in the morning here on the 23rd of March, 2025. It is, what is it, 10 degrees. Feels a lot colder because I got this breeze coming right now. Well, here we go. This is the stadium, Torpedo Stadium, whatever. I'm going in a area I haven't been for a while. So, right into my eyes are going to be watering, cold air. I'm actually dressed a little bit too inappropriately for cold wind to be blowing on me, so maybe I'll hopefully get to some place where it's not so windy. And hope you guys are able to hear me. I know that it's got pretty good sound on this Samsung S23S or whatever the heck it's called. It's pretty good camera, good low light visibility, things like that. So anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the news here. I wrote some of it on a big piece of paper too, so I was thinking I felt like these little cards all the time, but that's how it is. So what do I have here to start off with? Actually, I don't come up with the first, well, when I'm announcing, I don't talk about the most what do you call it, most important stories, at least what's important to me first. I'll start off with this one anyway. I wrote this just recently because it's just new, just came out just this morning. And it turns out, as you know, Putin, he wants to have friendship with virtually all countries on earth, sort of like George Washington's principles: trade with everybody and enemies with none. George Washington's philosophy from those days. Of course, the United States doesn't follow that at all, especially under somebody like Joe Biden. Anyway, what the heck is this? Look at that. It's like something in a road rage sort of a thing. I don't know. Road rage delivery trucks. Okay, but no, there was this, what's his name? I wrote it. I think it was on, like I said, it was the last thing I wrote. It's this new leader of Syria. The guy. He looks like Osama bin Laden, kind of. Little bit of young Osama bin Laden, big beard. Yeah. If you ask me, really shady guy. If you can find shady Muslims, I guess that's one of them. He's not, in my opinion, any type of a guy that you would want to be having in charge of any country, Muslim or otherwise. And how he came to power, who brought him to power, all this, to me, it's just all very shaky stuff. So anyway, what's his name? His name is Al-Shara. You can call me Al. You can be my bodyguard. You can call me Al. You can call me Al. Na. Anyway, that's Al. So yeah, that's what I find the most shocking part of the news is, and Vladimir Putin is going to be meeting with him very soon. I don't know, maybe it's this next coming week. And he popped up with some kind of a sort of a condition, I would say. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But anyway, what my take on that is. But he came up and he said something like, Putin's not even there yet. And he said that he wants Russia, Putin, or whatever, to hand over Bashar al-Assad to him, to the country of Syria, to him, to whatever. Anyway, to authorities. Obviously, they would put the guy to death or torture him or do anything like that. What about his wife and all that sort of thing? And like I've said, my opinion, and I think it's a very accurate one, that the problem was with Bashar al-Assad was that he's way too much of a nice guy. And maybe some things, happened not so good for some people. Not that he would ever want that to ever happen to anybody, but maybe, under his rule. And the West has made him out to be some sort of a super brutal killer, villain or whatever, when in truth he's exactly the opposite. Everything he has done has proven to be the exact opposite. I think even Tulsi Gabbard knows that, and she's hinted at it, but maybe not really come out and said that. unfortunately, with Tulsi Gabbard, even I think she's a great person. She's got to play the game, unfortunately, and it's just like maybe I didn't even I mentioned this already before. That Jimmy Dore was mentioning how she did a 180-degree turn on Yemen or whatever, and it's difficult to say, oh, look at she's some traitor, but I tell you what. It's just like anybody else. You have to like Israel, or at least play like you like Israel and that you agree with Israel, or you're gone. You're just gone from politics. Your time is numbered. It's very rare. You have somebody like Ilhan Omar, and who knows who's supporting her? Maybe some radical people or what? I have no idea. How does she stay in Congress? And of course, it's been put out that her people, whether it's true or not, did an awful lot of cheating to stay there. One thing is like handing out these I think it was the Democrats and their mail-in ballots or whatever, and they would take a whole bunch of them, have their people going around to like old folks homes with people that don't really, like Joe Biden-ish type of people, and getting them to sign the ballots for Ilhan Omar when they are not even sure what they're doing anyway. But their persons, their bodies, they're still alive. Maybe they have social security numbers, things like that. So anyway, they vote. And that's how they've been doing that. And some people are saying, oh, they're going to deport her. She's going to be deported in a week or 2 weeks or something. And I heard that, and that was months ago, and she was never deported. You hear a lot of stuff, even from the right, what we call the right. So anyway, I'm actually going to be going to some area. It's no houses and things like that. Look at some kids going to school here. It's Sunday. That makes you wonder, maybe they have detention. They can make a movie. I guess there's a movie like that in the States. A couple of movies, people on detention, kids or something. No, I don't know where they're going. It looks like a church of some sorts. So maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't know, maybe, unless I see what this is. It's a fitness place. I don't know. House? Oh, it's house. That's how they write house. Link's house. Whatever Link's house is. Anyway, let's keep going here on the news here. Stop distracting me, guys. Yeah, but I think what this means is with this call me Al guy, Al-Shabaab or Al-Shara, he is, Russia has that military base there. I think it's called Tartus or whatever. And I think what's going to happen is there's going to be some sort of a deal. Say, well, we're thinking about letting you guys stay here, but you got to hand over Assad so we can kill the guy. And we need him as a scapegoat for all the crap that we're doing or not doing, not kicking Israel out. Everybody has a free run on our country. And we massacred a lot of people. Christians, we hate the Christians. So Assad's supporters are the Alawites. Well, I think this guy, this Al-Shara, gosh, what is his name? Al-Shara. I think he's acting as if he's such a great guy and nobody's going to be killed and all that sort of thing. But yet there was a lot of killing of the Alawites, the ones that support Assad, and a lot of Christians massacring, going all over the place and massacring them. People said it's really, really bad. They're going, and I can't really say. I don't know who they're massacring. When you look at the Ukrainians, they go into villages and they first kill all the men. And a lot of the Israelis, those Nazis, you have to think about, like, strange, the Ukrainian Nazis, invade these villages and, and try to take these defenseless, unarmed people and kill all the men. And then as far as the Israeli Nazis, when they go in, they kill the women. And, there's a rhyme and a reason for that. It's kind of a nice Chevrolet. There's a rhyme and a reason for that. obviously for the Israelis anyway, because they're conducting a kind of long-term genocide, and they want to kill off the women because it doesn't matter what the Democrats say. I just have to, I don't know. At least it seems that men can't have babies. That men can't have babies, and so they kill the women because the women are the ones that bear the children. And I thought I thought I was going to have a baby the other day. So anyway, I didn't know where to go, so I went into the bathroom, and sat on the seat there and found out it wasn't a baby after all. But anyway, you guys know how things get, Like cats go around before they have to do what they have to do, and then they go to the bathroom, and then they start running around a lot, and then I guess they're done. So, yeah. So call me Al. No. I think maybe this is the way. I'm trying to think. It's not this way. I think it was this the way. Pretty girl over there. I don't know what she's doing. Her and her boyfriend. But anyway, you guys are not interested in women, so I don't look at that there. So let's go. Yeah, and Israel, as far as what's going on, they're bombing, and last night again, you guys might have been able to see this, at least if you're watching from maybe the West Coast, because it was happening, I think, around 11 o'clock at night, our time, and I think it was maybe early morning. I don't know, maybe in Israel, I have no idea, but anyway, very late at night, or very early morning. I'm not sure exactly when, but they were, again, bombing southern Lebanon, and I think this time they only killed one child, I think injured some, and let me see if I wrote it down here. So, let's see, Lebanon. Yeah, and they, apparently, I don't know if it was the Lebanese, they found some things that they said it was primitive, things like just two 2x2s, some sticks basically that a 10-year-old child can make. They said that those were the launchers, which I have no idea. It seems too stupid to me. And why would you need that? And they're set at an angle. One of the sticks was set like it's at a 45-degree angle, acting like they can launch somewhere for that. I don't know. What's this guy doing over here? Probably got a dog. Yeah, a dog. It's like a place for... Look at some of these old houses here. It's incredible. Can you imagine when these things were built here? Back in the day when there wasn't really any high-rises like that around or nothing. And maybe a place for a whole family. Maybe they had a farming area. Maybe this area right here. And then maybe they sold it. Maybe they were sending things out. Yeah, pretty interesting. Some of these are probably renovated. Used to probably be different types of houses like that. Put new siding on it or whatever. Nice wood. Look at that. That looks like it is wood. It's not fake stuff. Excellent stuff. Anyway, let's keep going here. On some news. I like these houses too, though. See some of these designs. Need some renovation. This one here. Big place. Probably enough for 3 families, I would think. That wind blowing, making my eyes water. I can't read. Let's see. Like I was going to tell you how many died and children. Let's see. 5 died, I think. 11 wounded, and 1 child. Big dog. I could feel that weight against my leg there. Nice guy. Okay, what about this? I was going to mention something about that with the 2 sticks. I was thinking a small possibility that Israel, making a false flag, because Hezbollah came out and said they didn't launch any rockets, and I think maybe the Lebanese were trying to find out, who would have done that, because obviously it's somebody, if Hezbollah or even Hamas or any of those, so-called terrorists, when they say, that's even the Houthis, a lot of time, I think nearly always when they say something, it's normally always the truth. When Israel says something, 9 times out of 10 it's the lie. Isn't there some kind of a question if you take logic class in the university? It says somebody who lies all the time and somebody who tells the truth and whatever. I don't know. Look at this long stretch of unused, I don't know, lots. Probably owned by maybe the same person. Look at this. Quiet neighborhood, if you say. Well, it's a little bit of a walk, 15-minute walk to the metro, but yeah, you never know. Somebody's probably can make a fortune on that if it's owned by one person, which I guess it would be, because you would think that over time somebody would have sold it. It looks like, see, in Britain, of course, you can't own that land because you see this path through here. Aha! You can't ever build there. I don't think that's the case here. Oh, look at that big cat. You're a big kitty. Wow. Okay, guys. I don't know. You guys want to hear the news and maybe not see these neighborhood stuff. I think it's fascinating. Some of you do. I know you do. Probably an apple tree right here. Maybe another one. Maybe a plum. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that good at being able to tell what kind of tree it is. It's like a cherry tree over there. I should come back here if I can remember this and see if I'm right. Look at that, a fake palm tree. Man, incredible. I didn't know they grew here. Yes. Oh, there's another. Oh, big. I think maybe this was the same attack in Lebanon, and they have some footage of that, cars burning and the buildings collapsed and from all these bombs. And Donald Trump, he recently sent like even some Moab, some of these mother of all bombs, he sent to Israel. Israel gets everything they want, and it's a strange thing because those bombs are bombs that no country really ever uses against, well, I guess let me rephrase that. Nobody will ever use those in residential areas, but Israel does. And the United States knows fully well that they drop those bombs in residential areas. Where else are they going to bomb them? They're going to bomb a salt mine or something? I don't know. The only place that they have for using those bombs is residential areas. I'll tell you what, even the United States, they don't even bomb places, residential areas with those bombs. And they're the ones that make the bombs, but Israel has nothing against that. And I'm suspecting if they use one of those types of bombs in Israel, I mean, these are the biggest bombs made that are non-nuclear. So it's the most destructive bomb made except for nuclear bombs. Except maybe the Orishnik, I don't know, that Russia has now. But that's like a pinpoint bomb. They can put it within 1 meter, and I think whatever it gets, it destroys and turns everything to dust. But I don't know how large of an area. Like these Moabs they make huge craters. Huge craters that go down maybe 15 to 20 feet if you bomb a house. The house is gone, and the only thing that's left is a huge crater, and that's what these bombs normally do. So I'm not sure if that's what they used in Lebanon this time, because Donald Trump gave Israel a huge amount of these things, and we're all talking. I mean, why in the heck would Donald Trump be doing this stuff? He says he wants to stop the killing. Well, who are the biggest killers on the planet today? As a nation or as a government? Who is that? It's not the United States even. It's not even Donald Trump. Maybe it is Donald Trump. He's the one that's given them the bombs. I don't know. What are we going to say? Okay, this is my destination here, people. I was just going to go see what this is like here. I haven't been here for a long time. And it's in Minsk. It's still in the boundaries of Minsk. And look at this. It's not like a park. It's just an area that's unused. I don't know. Probably belongs to the government. It's probably not worth developing so much because, here's a big road, but I don't know if there otherwise is. And I don't know. I don't know if there's a stream over there, because there's trees and it might be a stream. So if you would develop this place, you might want to develop with trees and make it like a nice park, I would think. Anyway, man, my nose is running. This is quite embarrassing, people, with this wind blowing in my face. cold wind. This afternoon it'll be a lot better. Can't even talk, a little bit frozen. Okay, let's keep going here. Stop distracting me. Let's see. Massive protests in Israel, and it's unclear really what these protests are all about, because a lot of time you get a fake story. It's just like when you have these protests, and I mentioned it already in a video, either yesterday or the day before that. You know, remember when he had those protests in Ferguson, Missouri, and CNN and all these people are saying, it's about race, it's about race. And it wasn't about race, it was about police brutality. And that was the beginning of the BLM movements and stuff, and they were interviewing people, even CNN, they were interviewing people, and the reporters are trying to make it out to be like race things, and the people are like wondering, you know, it's, what are you talking about? You know, it was about police brutality. So, God, my nose, it feels like it's running. I don't know. Terrible, terrible. Most everybody else would delete the footage. I'm too lazy to do that. You know, if my nose is running. Just let me keep going here. The U.S., you know, again, this is what, the eighth day or night or whatever, probably night, the 8th night of bombing in Yemen. And this time they pretty much did a massive destruction to the airport in Houda. So, yeah, and of course the Houthis are saying, we're going to keep on going, you know, just go ahead, keep on doing this. And we're going to keep, you know, attacking your ships, and we're going to still, you know, keep attacking Israel as long as you keep treating the people of Gaza that way, and as long as you have the blockade, keeping medications and food and toilet paper away from those people, you know, we're going to keep on going against you. And like I say, these are moralistic people, and the bombings that the Houthi do, or what do you call it, Ansar Allah, normally they don't kill anybody. I think in the entire bombings, maybe 5, and the United States has killed hundreds of people, hundreds of Yemen people, you know, and for the most part, most of them are innocent people. And Israel, I don't know if they have the capability. I guess they're having the United States doing all the bombing for them against the Yemenite people. So, because you know, the United States is a long way from Yemen. You know, Yemen is the poorest country in the Middle East. You know, so I guess, yeah, because they're poor, we got to teach them a lesson. And you know, I'm not ashamed to admit I have more sympathies towards the Yemenis, the Houthis, than I do towards the United States, or definitely for, you know, at least the government of Israel. And I tell you what, a lot of the people, unfortunately, have been, what do you call it, brainwashed, heavily indoctrinated to be just as evil as the government. And they want to kill children. They want to kill Palestinian children, and they revel over killing pregnant women, shooting them through the belly, and killing 2 people with 1 bullet. You know, they have T-shirts that you can buy in Israel. You know, 1 bullet, 2 kills. Some real nasty stuff that we're doing. I mean, it's the government's doing it to their own people. Anyway. See, even Adolf Hitler was, you know, he wasn't talking about killing necessarily, but taking over countries. And I think he was expressing that stuff publicly. And of course, he had disdain for Jews back then. It wasn't, I don't think there was really any necessarily trying to kill Jews. A lot of that stuff was completely fabricated, you know, that he's putting, anyway, you guys have heard it before. I don't want to keep on going, but it's just fortunate that we will be lying. And now, of course, the new Jews, that's the Russians. Kill them, kill them, kill them. You know, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute here. Yes, and there's radical idiots. Well, I should mention first about these protests in Turkey. You know, Erdogan, you know, to ensure that he wins the coming election, he jailed his chief political opponent, which is the mayor of Istanbul. And protests are actually getting worse, and they're using water cannons, which is, I mean, that stuff isn't so bad. You know, in France, they're much worse. They use rubber bullets, and they shoot them at head level, and a lot of people are blinded from rubber bullets in Paris, because they're shooting rubber bullets at face level, of course. You know, they've maimed a lot of people, you know, and people broken arms, and they're far more brutal to their people in France than the Israelis are to their people in Israel. I'll just say that. I don't know. It's kind of so much messed up stuff in the world today anyway. Okay, the radical idiots I was going to talk about. These ones, that they're going around, and because if you bought a Tesla, they're punishing you as if you are Elon Musk or something. One guy, he came and he vomited on a car, and I guess the guy had his camera on. Apparently, I don't know. And he was even talking about it, showing the footage, a guy coming up and vomiting on his car, his Tesla. And, people are spray painting them and things like that. Cause, damage and things. And I guess there's like fines, I think, starting at, what is it, Trump, I think, announced it himself, like for people that are attacking and, the dealerships, breaking the windows and all that. I mean, guys, look at that evil Elon Musk uncovering huge amounts of corruption that steals the money from the American people. What a bad guy, And so we Americans that are having our money stolen from us by the bad guys, we should go after the people that are exposing those that are stealing our money. Logic, I guess. And Elon Musk was also coming out talking about Africa, about South Africa. And I guess they've really gone off the deep end there. I guess they're talking about killing white people. They're having rallies, of people, talking and cheering to kill white people. And he says that they passed a law 1 month ago in South Africa that advocates black people going and just taking over white people's properties, like houses. And I remember there was something going on, I think it was Zimbabwe or Mugabe or Zimbabwe and all that, and they were taking the farms from white people, even if you've had it in your family for 150 years, just seizing the property and handing it over to black people that didn't know how to farm, things like that. And I guess that really did a lot of bad crap to their economy, but that's how things are going, And I've even noticed there's a surge in whites against black people, prejudice and all that. And it's, I don't know, and who is behind all this stuff? And I don't, I'm not really going to say that Trump is, or Trump's people, or even that agenda. A lot of that, of course, was the Biden agenda, with this diversity kind of crap. And they knew that what they were going to be doing is creating a pendulum effect, and they swing it over one direction, and it's going to cause a swing back to the other direction, and then causing people to be racist against black people. And even the black people, in America, were saying that was a bunch of crap. The white people have never done anything to them. And of course, you've already, met different people, and there are some that I've met that are black people, and I don't think they can go an hour in any day without saying how racist white people are against them. And the strange thing is, these are black people, that own big apartment buildings, and they don't have to work because they just sit around and they collect rent, and they're like 30, 35 years old. And in other words, they have no job. They don't need a job because they're just collecting rent all the time, and yet white people are racist, and it makes me wonder, well, how, you're living in a place. You guys already know the deal. These people are just, I don't think they know what the heck they're doing. I don't know. This looks weird. I don't know if somebody planted this tree here. And what is this going on here? Maybe something. See all this freshly turned soils here. Oh yeah, look at this. I told you it was freezing here. It's supposed to be 10 degrees. And look at this. This is ice here. So it lets you know how accurate my phone is. Frozen tire in the water. Looks like anyway, that's ice. And that's why my fingers are cold, and that's why my nose is running, I guess. So, gosh, I can't trust your phones anymore. Okay, this is dragging on. You guys probably don't want to hear all me crap talking about all this stuff. So, Elon Musk says, well, in his opinion, he can't get a license to put Starlink there in South Africa, where he comes from, by the way, as you all know, because he's not black. And I don't know, South Africa is one of the BRICS, you know. I don't know. Maybe he's exaggerating, doing a Trump, the greatest of the great, and this is the worst of. I don't know. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Elon Musk, so I'm not gonna comment. I really don't know. I don't know what it's like in South Africa. Never been there, and a lot of time you have to be somewhere. You know, you have to get the facts on the ground to find out what the real truth is. You know, you guys don't know that in the United States because all the crap that they feed in your minds, especially about Belarus. That we have maybe firing squads here. I really don't know what the heck they say here. Oh, I remember, dancing is not allowed in Belarus. You can't sing in public and all that. The Belarusians themselves, they don't agree with that stuff. They know that that's not true. And of course, but they never hear that here. They hear other things, and everybody's acting like they feel sorry for the Belarusians or whatever like this, and some of them, it seems like they even believe it themselves over here, the Belarusians. I don't really know. And all of us that come here, these foreign students or foreign people, not even students. I know a lot of guys from the States, and they love it here. I mean, it's like you can go out late at night. I can be here at 12 o'clock at night in the summertime. You can send women here dressed in miniskirts, and nothing's going to happen to them. They can walk around the streets. It's just amazing, Oh, look at this. There's an old guy over there. He's out to rape some women or something. I don't know. You guys can't see too far probably. But anyway. I wasn't saying yet anything about there's Timoshenko. If you guys remember her, she was the lady with the funny hairdo from Ukraine. She was in the government. She ran for, I don't know if that was prime minister, president or something in the past. And I think maybe the Poroshenko days before that, or what was the other guy? Petroshenko? I don't know. But anyway, the guy's watching me. I don't care. But apparently there's some people in the United States that are trying to back her as a replacement for Zelensky. And of course, it's for appearances. You would think, yeah, Zelensky, look at him, how he's screwing up the country, and that he's sending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people to their certain death against the Russians, like to the meat grinder, as everybody calls it, because they have no chance. I guess even the Czech Republic president came out and said, even when he was sitting there supporting all of this stuff, then he just now came out and said he admitted that he knew they had no chance, and it's like, well, why in the heck were you? These politicians make you sick, He's cheering on Ukraine, sending more people to their certain death. Gosh. Anyway, so, but Timoshenko, a lot of people are kind of looking towards her, and Arestovich. I was going to talk about Arestovich in a minute here, but some people are backing him, some are still backing Poroshenko maybe, but apparently, they think Zelensky's got to go, but is it Zelensky? And there's a lot of people that talk about the fact that Zelensky's doing all this stuff, and like he's got a gun, pointing at his back, or a knife at his throat, or whatever expression you want to use, from the Nazis. Well, he's a Nazi, of course, too. But the other Nazis, the Nazis that made him a Nazi, I guess, are the ones that are threatening to kill him unless he, does what they say. And one of the things that they want him to do is to not ever concede any territory. In other words, keep fighting to the last Ukrainian, and demand this and demand that, the PIS plan, the regular PIS plan. So the PIS plan is probably, I don't know, it's a Nazi plan, obviously. And it's like, well, we are going to die till we're all dead unless we get what we want. I mean, that's real logic. That's how the Nazis think, I guess. They're a little bit short on brain power. A lot of killing, they like to kill and, try to be evil and whatever the stuff they do. Anything that's dastardly, killing, burying children alive and things like that, crucifying people upside down and and all kinds of nasty stuff that they've been doing, bombing school buses filled with children. I mean, that's what these people are like, But they're a little bit short on brain power. They know power. Power. This is how we get power. We'll be as evil as we possibly can. They substitute their evil and their attitudes, their killing attitudes, in place of intelligence. Just look how smart we were. We were able to do this, and it's not smart, it's you're dastardly and killing people and all that. Hey, maybe that's going to be my picture, my photo for my YouTube thing. If I come back here. Whatever. Arestovich. The British. You have to consider the British are actually backing up Zelensky. His bodyguards, I guess, throughout his entire time have mostly been British. So they're the ones that maybe are behind all this. You remember Boris Johnson. A lot of people are thinking that the United States was ordering Boris Johnson to go there and scuttle the peace deal from 2022. Maybe not. Hey, and I was going to mention this. One of my subscribers wrote, Yuta. Sometimes she comes up with some really good stuff, stuff I didn't know, very important. I mean, important to me. Maybe she has the same attitude of what's important and what isn't important that I did. But apparently that back in those days, and I might have missed this, I'm pretty sure I did, I don't remember that I ever heard it, but the British were also involved in this Crocus massacre. And Russia, of course, they just announced yesterday, because it was the anniversary of this Crocus massacre, it was from 1 year ago, that foreign governments, I think they said plural, were involved in this. They said governments, but we all know that Ukraine was involved because that's where they were going, these people. So obvious, and you would think so, but it's also very obvious, and I wasn't even thinking about it. The British too, because the British, they have a seething hatred for centuries of the Russians, a seething hatred. So I wouldn't bet that they would ever stay out of something like that. How Ukraine, because Ukraine is a tool of the British, so they probably work together. And I was even thinking the United States is involved in that. And the reason why Russia does not want to divulge which countries were involved is because they're getting warming relationships with the United States lately, and they don't want to announce it, and that would not help things very much. So they're probably just keeping their mouth shut on that. And yeah, what else here? Okay. That's probably just CIA involved in that. That is still the same thing. It's the U.S. government. Okay. And I guess the numbers now, I was mentioning some things yesterday, over 600, but apparently there were 145 that were killed and 550 wounded in that. So it's quite a bit. It's like 700 altogether. But you see, Lindsey Graham. I would say that maybe that there's a lot of people that their desire, and it's obviously a Nazi thing, is to just kill Russians. We got to kill Russians, and so I don't know. That's one reason why you think that anybody that just wants to kill Russians, they'd be involved in that. But it's and one reason why they say that about Ukrainians is because it's mostly that they want to kill Slavic people. And I have to keep on saying this in all my videos that, when I was doing my university studies, and I noticed that was like a trend, the Europeans, they really hate the Slavs. I mean, I'm talking about the elites, and that's a lot of what Europe is all about is keeping Slavs out of Europe, or maybe at the same time killing Slavic peoples. And, mostly the Russians. They hate the Russians, and they've always hated Russians for hundreds and hundreds of years. I don't know. You don't understand the Russians, why they keep wanting to be friends and get along with with the even the British or the Russians and the French, tremendous gifts. Uh, you can see things inside of Paris, that were gifts from the Russians to the French, and then these people they instead they want to get rid of and kill the Russians, to the last Ukrainian even. And Ukrainians, they haven't yet woken up to realize that they're looked at as Russians too, which in fact they really are. Like Zelensky, what did he say? That the Russians are a species. Forgetting the fact that he's probably at least half Russian himself. So I don't know. So maybe the species mated with human beings and created Zelensky. I don't know. Yeah, but he doesn't care if even his, well, maybe makes you wonder. He'll send hundreds of thousands of his own people to certain death to die fighting the species. So it shows how much he likes his own people, I don't know. Reminds me of something, Rob Schneider. I saw this fantastic, Rob Schneider is brilliant. Rob Schneider, he's maybe one of my favorite, and his head is on his shoulders the right way. And he's not afraid to even come out and say that he supports Trump, which is like, it's like suicide in Hollywood. But anyway, he's a Republican type of guy, and he said something, about some bill. I guess it was passed in California, or maybe they're pushing it through, and it's about slavery and about reparations. Mostly about reparations. I guess they passed some bill or pushing this bill through about reparations, and he said it's. It just talks about our human logic, actually, to me. It's he said the reparations bill, it's and the money that, I guess they're going to be taking probably money from people in California, and the money is to go to people that were never slaves. And the money's taken from people who never had slaves in a state that never had slavery. That's real logic. Brilliant, I guess, I don't know. It just makes you wonder where the heck are we? Where the heck are we in the world today? Anyway, yeah. And let's see. I talked about this guy. Call me Al. That was in my opinion, the biggest story, because it looks like, I don't know, Putin's going to maybe have a little bit of trouble dealing with this guy going there. Okay. Okay. And there was an interesting interview. This is what I also wanted to talk about with Alexei Arestovich. He was Zelensky's top advisor in the earlier days, I don't know what caused them to split. I don't know. But in this interview, he was talking about Budanov. And this is, it's kind of relevant right now, especially with Trump wanting to take control of these power plants. And I guess the guy who's in charge, not Putin, but the guy who's in charge of the power plant in Zaporozhye, he was saying it will always be Russian. And Trump is trying to get Ukraine, who doesn't have control and doesn't own that power plant, to give it to Donald Trump or to let Trump sell it to the United States. I don't know. But anyway, he wants control of that. But the guy said it's never going to happen. And Arestovich was talking about what was going around when he was there is that if they ever lost hope in having control of the power plants, the nuclear power plants, including Zaporozhye, that he would blow them up. Budanov, he's one of the uber Nazis, and some, if you look at what was going on in the United States, and everybody's saying, well, it was actually Blinken that was running the show. Blinken was running the show because, for the most part, Biden was actually weak, as you know, weak mentally and in a lot of other ways. He just had a big mouth on him, but he was a weak guy. It's not like even when he was vice president under Obama, he was given the power, and he used his son and influence and all that, and he was actually the president of Ukraine, for the most part. He controlled the president in those days. But a lot of people are saying that Blinken was the one that was actually the president, during Biden's term. And I was always having this in the back of my mind. I was wondering if it's Budanov that actually runs Zelensky to a large extent. maybe he's just the threat behind Zelensky. So Zelensky has to do what these Nazis, well, his other Nazi friends do. You know, he's the weak Nazi, if you want to think of it that way. And the guys that are real killers that will cut your throat, they're like Budanov. So he's got to basically do what they tell him to do. So that's just a theory of mine. Okay, and it's like a Samson complex when you think about Budanov. You know, if we can't control it, we're going to blow it up, and everybody's going to experience a nuclear fallout. Basically, we're going to poison the whole world with radiation. You know, if we can't control those power plants, and you know, makes you wonder how the war is going to end. Or I tell you what, I'm not very optimistic on any kind of a peace plan or a peace plan. The peace plan's not going to go through, and neither is the peace plan. Okay, but what else here? I'm getting to the end here, people. Let me see. I don't know. Maria Zakharova. It was just a note. I just saw her. She was talking, and you know, about all these atrocities that was happening for the most part in the Kursk area. And I've already mentioned a lot of that stuff. It's really terrible things that these Nazis do. You know, and there's a lot of, you know, bad people in the world and all that, and you know, and yet they have the criminal courts and everything going after the people that do not do the evil stuff, and call them evil, and they let the evil ones go, or they say we don't see that. Pay no attention. That look over here. Pay no attention over there. Look over this way. Boy, what the heck, you know. Yeah, this stuff I've mentioned, you know, like what they do when they were moving into villages, and a lot of these people, these soldiers that were working for Ukraine, you know, I don't know, do you call them Ukrainian? But apparently a lot of these, you know, they even had some from Colombia, Peru. I've mentioned that there are British there are French there, lots of Polish people, you know, that were part of this, what do you call it, invasion into Kursk, and the Russians look at them as terrorists. And you know, some are sneaking out. They had even some footage about some guy. He dressed himself as a bush. I don't know. He did a really good job. He looked like a bush, but the problem is that he was walking on a road where there's no bushes at all. So you have this green bush, and you can see from the drone footage, you know, that there's a bush moving, walking along on a road. You know, just a bush moving. It's, you know, some people are dressed up as grandmas, you know, babushkas, and you know, hunching over and trying to walk, and they're soldiers and trying to get out like that way. It's not that Russia really has these people, you know, encircled, but it's, you know, there are loopholes, but a lot of stuff can't come in either. I mean, you can't bring big supplies of even food in, but I don't know. A lot of atrocities, a lot of stuff going on. That was a very bad thing, this thing about Kursk, and you know, I think that was Sersky's plan, and now they're talking about getting rid of General Sersky. And, you know, they got rid of, what's the other guy's name, who's an ambassador there in the UK now. I mean, all these, get somebody else there, you know, a fall guy. Yes. I was going to say something. You know, there's also, you know, this U.S. aid, and we all found out that George Soros was getting a lot of his money from U.S. aid. And I was thinking he was fully funded, because he started crying, and all these people started crying when they started cutting off this U.S. aid money. And I was thinking, well, Soros, he's not such a... I was wondering, why was he committing his money? I've mentioned this before, and apparently he either found a new source, or he's still got a lot of residual money. I don't know, but he's still funding. He's funding. There's what is her name? Susan. By the way, Susan Crawford. I think that was a name of an actress, but she's a liberal, probably a Soros, you know, person running for a seat in Wisconsin, and I guess given millions and millions, and Soros is the biggest backer, I guess, of that, but there's millions and millions of dollars to this woman to try to get the seat for the Democrats of Wisconsin. And the guy running for the United States, for the Republicans, is Brad Schemmel. And if they lose, if Trump loses, then apparently, and this is according to Elon Musk, the Democrats will take control of the House of Representatives. which is very bad news. And then a lot of stuff is not going to be passed, and that has a lot to do with money, because the lower house of the U.S. government is very much, well, in most control of where the money goes. You know, the money that the United States has. You know, so that's not going to be a good thing if they lose the House. So they say that they need to win that. And of course, Musk has a lot of money. I wonder if he's going to... I bet he does. I'll bet he puts a lot of his money up for that. So anyway, people, that's about all I have for today. I don't know what other news is going to come out. This is supposed to be the day when Trump is supposed to again, or maybe not Trump, or his administration is again supposed to tell us about the tremendous breakthrough of maybe the ceasefire or the peace plan. Is it going to be just a peace plan or a peace plan? Like, I don't know. But, you know, in Ukraine, and they said that they're going to have somewhere, I guess down in Saudi Arabia again, they're going to have the Russian delegation in one room, and then they're going to have the Ukrainian in the other room, and they're just going to kind of be, I think somebody was calling that shuttle diplomacy, going back and forth, and then trying to find out, you know, where there is. And Trump is very optimistic. I'll tell you what, I'm not that optimistic, you know. I'm not that optimistic at all. And it's not going to be any breakthrough as far as I'm concerned on Sunday, so they're going to postpone it again. Remember, Trump was saying he can do it in one day, and then I mentioned it before, and then it said it was going to be Monday, and then it said it was Tuesday, and then it's now Sunday, which is today. Let's see what happens. So I guess we don't hold your breath. That's all I want to say. Cold as hell out here. My fingers are frozen. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for joining me, everybody, and see you on the next one. Maybe tomorrow. I got school tomorrow, so if I make one, it'll probably be quite early. I have different times when I have to go to school, so anyway, that's how that is. I don't think I'll be making one today. I don't think there's going to be any big breakthrough in the peace thing or anything like that anyway. So, like I said, don't hold your breath. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for the nice comments too, everybody, by the way. Bye-bye.